has turned out to be a statistical truth. But no, I feel very comfortable. I would feel very, very comfortable being in New York, and I think much more so after the meeting. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question for you, but a very quick one for the mayor. Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that goes.
Well, I know, but if he flew, that's a lot quicker too.
Your time is
he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a
And
long
Mr.
time.
President, I was wondering if you could clear up some confusion around a Washington Post report. There was this explosive report that the Coast Guard is no longer going to characterize swastikas and nooses as hate symbols. DHS called that a lie and fake news. Can you clear up?
I don't know anything about it. When was this written?
I think yesterday.
Well, look, the Coast Guard's an incredible group of people. I know them very well. We just ordered a lot of new Coast Guard cutters, beautiful, the most magnificent ship. They look like yachts with lots of guns on them. So I don't know. I haven't seen any report like that, but certainly we want them to remain a great force, and they are.
Mr. President, peacemaker, and you did the peace in all the 9 months around the world. I would like to ask Mr. Mamdani, you've accused the U.S. government of committing genocide in Gaza while President Trump was working on peace. Why that?
I've spoken about the Israeli government committing genocide, and I've spoken about our government funding it. And I shared with the president in our meeting about the concern that many New Yorkers have of wanting their tax dollars to go towards the benefit of New Yorkers and their ability to afford basic dignity. And what we see right now is we're in the 9th consecutive year of more than 100,000 school children being homeless in our city. And there's a desperate need not only for the following of human rights, but also the following through on the promises we've made New Yorkers. And I appreciated the meeting we had and the work that we can do.
Do you agree that President Trump did do a peace and he worked hard to make the peace? Because he worked hard to do the peace in the Middle East and everywhere. Do you agree with that?
I appreciate all efforts towards peace, and I shared with President Trump that when I spoke to Trump voters on Hillside Avenue, including one of whom was a pharmacist that spoke about how President Trump's father actually went to that pharmacy not too far from Jamaica Estates, that people were tired of seeing our tax dollars fund endless wars. And I also believe that we have to follow through on the international human rights, and I know that still today those are being violated, and that continues to be work that has to be done no matter where we're speaking of.
Mr. President, question for Mr.
Thank you, Mr. President. Do you view the mayor-elect as the true leader of the Democrat Party? And do you think Leader Schumer's and Leader Jeffries, have to follow his lead?
Well, look, I hope they have great leaders. This is a man that right now I think is focused in New York City. I really think he has a chance to do a great job. We're going to help him, but I really think he has a chance to do a great job. But I'll let you answer that. You consider yourself the leader of the Democrats? I think it's more appropriate for him.
I consider myself the next mayor of New York City, and I keep my horizons firmly on New York City, and I appreciate the meeting with the president, which focused again on the 5 boroughs and whether New Yorkers could afford to live there.
By the way, being the mayor of New York City is a big deal.
Absolutely.
I always said, one of the things I would have loved to be someday is the mayor of New York City. Being the mayor of New York, and especially now, because I think you're at really a turning point, one way or the other. It can go great, or it can go in a different direction. And I think you really have a chance to make it great.
Mr. President, you said you love New York City. Mr. Mamdani, does New York City love President Trump?
New York City loves a future that is affordable, and I can tell you that there were more New Yorkers who voted for President Trump in the most recent presidential election because of that focus on cost of living, and I'm looking forward to working together to deliver on that affordability agenda.
I got a lot of votes. One more. Go ahead. 1 or 2 more. Go ahead.
One more.
The press has eaten this thing up. I've had a lot of meetings with the heads of major countries. Nobody cared. This meeting that you people have gone crazy. Outside you have hundreds of people waiting. This is just a small little group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting, and it was a great meeting. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. President, I was going to ask you exactly that. Why do you think there's so much more, so much excitement around this than even some foreign leaders?
Because I think he's different. All right? I think he's different, and that can be in a very positive way, but I think he's different than, your typical guy, runs, wins, becomes mayor maybe, and nothing exciting. Because he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. 'Cause he has a chance to really do something great for New York. New York is at a very critical point. And he does need the help of the federal government to really succeed, and we're going to be helping him. But he's different than, you know, your average candidate. He came out of nowhere. I said he has a great campaign manager standing over there. He came out of nowhere. What'd you start off at 1 or 2? And then I watched. I said, who is this guy? He was at 1, then he was at 3, then he was at 5, then he was at 9. Then he went up to 17. I said, that's getting a little bit interesting, right? And then all of a sudden he wins a primary that nobody expected he was going to win. It's a great tribute. I mean, it's an amazing thing that he did.
I'll just add one thing to what the president said. Is one thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
You know, we have a great portrait of FDR that I found in the vaults that was missing for years. I found it, and I put it up. He's a Democrat, to the best of my knowledge. He's a Democrat. And when the mayor saw that portrait, he said, sir, do you mind if I have a picture taken by that portrait? It's an amazing portrait. I hope the picture comes out good. But it's an amazing portrait in the cabinet room. So he's a big fan of the New Deal, I guess, and of FDR. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. President. You said that you both spoke about crime.
Yeah.
There are many police officers set to come off the rolls at the end of this year in New York City. Are you going to allow those police to be replaced with police officers, actual cops? And are you going to require that that happens? Would there be some consequence if the
Well, I hope
staff...
it happens, but again, that's going to be ultimately the mayor's decision.
What's your answer?
Is that I look forward to delivering public safety with the NYPD, and I've said over the course of our campaign that we have the number of police officers today. They are the ones that's budgeted about 35,000 headcount. And I think the key thing is that we have to make it easier for police to focus on police work, not ask them to respond to 200,000 mental health calls a year.
So is that a reduction from what you're at right now? Are you committing to maintaining the same level of cops?
I've committed over the course of the campaign to maintain the 35,000. That's the headcount that we had through the campaign.
And not replace them with caseworkers, social workers?
No, I've said that's the headcount that we want. What we need to do is make sure they can focus on serious crime.
And he just retained a great police commissioner, I believe, right?
Yes, we did. Commissioner Tisch.
If the newspapers are correct.
That one they're correct about.
He retained, I think, somebody that is she's a good friend of some of the people in my family, of Ivanka, and they say she's really good, really competent, and he just retained her, so that's a good sign.
Mr. President, if I may,
Are there still topics that you see the two of you disagreeing on in the future? And do you think you'll have more meetings like this?
There will be topics that we disagree on. I think we'll probably come to a conclusion, and ultimately, he'll convince me, or I'll convince him. You know, it's for the good of New York. Ultimately, it's for the good of New York. I don't care about affiliations or parties or anything else. I want to see if this city could be unbelievable, if he could be a spectacular success, I'd be very happy.
Do you think you guys will meet more in the future too?
Too?
Do you think you'll meet again in the future, throughout the administration?
I think we will. I think we will. I hope we do. I enjoyed the meeting. We had a great meeting. Please.
Mr. President, Republican Elise Stefanik has campaigned multiple times by calling Zohran Mamdani a jihadist. Do you think you're standing next to a jihadist right now in the Oval Office?
No, I don't, but she's out there campaigning, and you say things sometimes in a campaign.
Isn't that sort of divisive?
She's a very capable person.
Isn't
But
that a kind of
you really have to ask her about that. But I don't particularly. I think I met with a man who's a very rational person. I met with a man who really wants to see New York be great again. And I can say again, because New York was great. You know, when I came down to Washington initially, the city was so hot. It was doing great. We were having some telltale signs of problems. We had a mayor that was not doing a great job, but still, it was moving along. And it went bad. It really went, pretty bad. And I think it's been at lower points, but it went pretty bad. I think he can bring it back. Now, the question is, will he bring it back all the way? Will he bring it back greater than ever before, which is, I guarantee, that's his wish. I think he wants to make it greater than ever before. And if he can, we'll be out there cheering. I'll be cheering for him. Okay? Thank you very much, everybody.
Reason you chose not to answer the question about the synagogue protest and Jewish safety in the city.
Now I've seen everything. Hi again, everybody. You've been watching Donald Trump fall in love with New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani in the Oval Office after a meeting with high stakes for the country's largest city. The two men have before just now lobbed vicious verbal attacks at one another frequently. Mamdani, in his victory speech earlier this month, told Trump, quote, "To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us." Today, it was an alternate reality, completely different story. The two men struck a cordial tone initially, talking about lowering the cost of living for New Yorkers, and it got more affectionate on Trump's part, at least, as it went on. When pressed by journalists on whether he had called Donald Trump a fascist, Mamdani said yes, he did. Trump, for his part, who was sitting next to him, said, "Go ahead, you can answer the question. It's okay." This extraordinary meeting is where we start today. With me at the table, host of Politics Nation, president of the National Action Network, the Reverend Al Sharpton's here. He spoke with the mayor-elect ahead of this meeting yesterday. We can ask him exactly what he told him to drop into Donald Trump's Diet Coke. Also joining us, the host of Fast Politics, New York Times contributing opinion writer and political analyst Molly Jong-Fast is here. Also joining us, Puck News senior political columnist MSNOW national affairs analyst John Heilman is here. Rev, what was the plan and what do you think?
Well, I talked to the mayor-elect last night. He called me and I told him that I've dealt with Donald Trump 40 years. He will either be very cordial and charming and may attack you on Truth Social before you get out of the grounds of the White House, or he may use it as a confrontation. That you should keep your eye on what it is you're trying to do in terms of affordability, in terms of representing segments of New York that have been neglected, and don't bite the bait. Because I think that it's clear that Donald Trump will go either way that he thinks is to his advantage. I mean, we just sat here and saw him, in effect, attack his future gubernatorial candidate's characterization of Mamdani. That's going to be one of the headlines. Trump says he's not a jihadist. I mean, there'll be many.
Fox News covers three things with Trump down at 33%. They cover crime in America's cities. Right. They cover really two things. They cover immigration, but that's pretty unpopular right now, too. And they cover this line, this lie, this smear that New York's mayor-elect is a jihadist. What are they going to do now?
They're either going to have to attack Donald Trump or find a new script. And I think he did a lot of things, in he being President Trump, that was interesting. How New York had gone down. Well, I thought he said under Eric Adams everything was fine, and that he and Eric were working together. He threw everybody in front of the bus. But again, Zohran Mamdani is not off the grounds yet. Don't think that Donald Trump dates. He does not get married politically. And they had a good date. That does not mean this is a political marriage. I hope, though, it benefits the city of New York. I'm glad that we're not talking about him sending Vice in here and doing what he did in L.A. I think that's the positive. But would I bet on this sticking? Only because I know Donald Trump, I wouldn't bet on that.
I have never watched a public meeting, even with Putin, Trump didn't go on for as long, where he lavished that much praise, affection, and admiration on anyone.
So I have a theory that some of what's happened is that Donald Trump sees how popular Zohran is, and he wants to get on that affordability train, right? He sees his numbers. He knows inflation is plaguing him. I mean, maybe I'm ascribing too much sort of political acumen to him, but I just wonder, because when he was talking, he said, you know, many Bernie Sanders voters voted for me. And then you had Zohran go back and say, you know, they voted for him. You know, a lot of people in New York City voted for him. Yeah. And then he said more people voted for me. You know, I just wonder if I mean, look, obviously he really did clearly like him. And I think that it speaks to the talent, the raw political talent that Zoran has, that he can go in and sit there and just make this guy his greatest cheerleader. But I also wonder if he's trying to get on that, he ran as a populist. He said he was going to make things cheaper.
We're ascribing to Trump like a multi-step process when all that we've ever witnessed is like a hunting dog's reflexes. Right. And I just think there was a winner in the Oval Office today who won something that Donald Trump just told us he'd always wanted. Donald Trump said, quote, "One of the things I would love to be is mayor of New York." And this is someone who won. Again, we'll quote Donald Trump today on this. Came out of nowhere. And Trump was obviously tracking his poll numbers. So Trump is endorsing Cuomo, is flipping Adams or whatever the hell he did with the Adams criminal bribery case at DOJ. And I wonder how all those lawyers feel about ruining their integrity to spring Adams when Trump was obviously in love with Mamdani the whole time. And he's tracking his polls. He says you were at 1 and then 4 and then 9. He's obviously been following his meteoric rise. And the guy is sitting there saying, "You can call me a fascist or a despot. You just answer the question." I mean, I've never seen him sort of care for his children, his vice president, or his cabinet's credibility the way he seemed committed to honoring Mamdani's credibility.
No, I've never seen him do that before. But Donald Trump is one that likes a political athlete.
Winner.
Right.
And a winner. I mean, back when sometime we would get along, I would sit at ringside at boxing matches because he had the license in Atlantic City. He would go in rooting for one boxer, and if another guy got ahead in the 3rd round, he was rooting for him. He's going to walk out of the place with the winner. And
should like J.D. Vance get some moving boxes?
Exactly. Yeah. But I think what is critical here, let's not forget, is that Trump changed a position on Mamdani. Mamdani did not change what he was saying he wanted to do in the city. And I think what a lot of us were looking for is whether Mamdani, even when they asked questions, well, what are you saying about Trump? He said people voted for affordability. Some of them voted for Trump. You did not see Mamdani become the guy that changed at all. The script at all. It was all Trump. And so I could say from having talked to Mamdani several times, including last night, that he held the line on what he said. It's Donald Trump that changed the script, and he did so rightfully. He ought to be working with the mayor of New York. He ought to be talking like this. I just don't know how long it will last. But I think that Zoran Mamdani did not change anything other than he was cordial to a man who had called him everything but a child of God, and he had no reason to confront him because Donald Trump said, no, he's not a jihadist. No, he's going to do great things. No, he's going to be a great mayor. This is a guy who said, let's vote to save the city, to vote for somebody else.
Hi.
I'll tell you a little.
I just have to say, I've covered Donald Trump for 9 years. Yeah. This might be one of my favorite live Trump events I've ever covered. One of the greatest
I gotta say, just to think back on over the course of our week, if I had asked you all a week ago what was more likely, that Donald Trump would capitulate on the Epstein files and would urge everyone to vote for the discharge petition, and that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert would stand up to all those things, you would have said, oh, that's pretty unlikely, John. Right. What's less likely, that or this Mamdani thing? You would have been a stumper. You know, that Trump would end up having a love fest with Mamdani. Would have been like, oh my God, I don't know which one of those is likely. I often tell the story of my first encounter with Trump when he decided to run for Trump. And I've been fighting on Twitter for years and years and years. He decided to run for president. The day after he announced for president, I was at Trump Tower. I came back, we covered it on live television. I tweeted out a thing that said, everybody who thinks that Donald Trump can't win the Republican nomination, you should think twice, because the Republican Party is becoming more racist, more xenophobic, more populist, more this, more that. Trump tweeted back, at Jay Howell is finally starting to understand Donald Trump. And I really was like, oh, he's binary. Like, at that moment, there were all these political reporters and correspondents and analysts saying he can't win. And it didn't matter why I said. I could have said...
You said he could win because people are becoming as racist as he is.
But it didn't matter. If I had said the whole country is secretly in the Ku Klux Klan, that's why he could win, he would have been like, thank you for saying that. Yeah. Because winner, loser.
That's right.
Your thing
That's
at the binary at any moment, there's you're with me or against me. You think I can win at that, winner.
Yeah.
Zohran Mamdani, in 2024, Donald Trump was on the presidential ballot here because he ran for president, right? In New York City, he won 786,000 votes. In a presidential election year, 786,000 votes. Zohran Mamdani won more than 1 million votes the other day. That, in Donald Trump's mind, is a very simple scorecard.
Right.
That guy, he looks like that guy goes, he's a winner. He's a winner. And I don't think any of it guarantees anything because you will recall after the election in 2016, he sat there in the Oval Office with Barack Obama.
Yeah.
They didn't have a love fest like this, but it was cordial. And Trump came out afterwards and said he really liked Obama. He thought Obama was really good. He said all kinds of nice things about Obama. Not like this because he was just coming in, but they had a very cordial meeting. And now, as you know, Donald Trump has been trying to investigate Barack Obama ever since. Right. 2 months from now, we could be in a totally different place. But right now, Trump is feeling like weak and like a loser. Zohran Mamdani is a winner, and he wants to be in that.
I was about to say,
oh, I agree with you. I'm saying 2 days, 2 months, 2 weeks, who knows? None of it means anything except for today. But today, Donald Trump is on his heels this week, and Zohran Mamdani is on the opposite of what your heels are, on his toes. He's like, I just want to sit here and like bask around in the warm glow of winter right now because he's probably feeling not very winnerish at the moment.
But let me just say the thing that I think is revealed at a more substantive level, in addition to all these things we are seeing on display from Trump. To the Rev's point, the mayor-elect compromised nothing. He pulled back nothing. He did not deny calling him a fascist. He stood there. Donald Trump said, I didn't mean anything I said. You say stuff in campaigns. Donald Trump, who's facing a credibility crisis.
It was really remarkable because they were so nice and polite to each other. Trump was praising Mamdani. The one thing I didn't like is how he said Russia, this war would have never started. Trump wants to make us try to forget the first impeachment. When he was impeached for withholding the defense funding, that's when Putin was able to assemble the troops. Trump's responsible for the war in the Ukraine because he withheld the defense funding. So I hate when he says that, but it was nice to see Donald Trump be nice to Mamdani. It was funny to see them not deny the insults that they had launched at each other. Mamdani said, yeah, I did call him a fascist, but he seems pretty cool now. And Trump said, yeah, I did call him a terrorist, but that was during the campaign, and he's not a terrorist. So that was all pretty interesting. And it was nice to see him getting along and both care about affordable housing for people. But like he said, how long is it going to last, you know?
I don't know, by the way, and I'm not suggesting that Mamdani has compromised anything substantively, but like if you were advising Mamdani, Rev did a little bit, but if